In this video, we will be working through Chapter 1 of the XpDrainage introductory tutorial. We'll begin by importing our inflows from a CAD file. And it's important as you begin the tutorial to ensure that the developed site condition phase has been selected. We can see here what the existing site, which has already been created, looks like. This tutorial begins by implementing the design for the developed phase. So begin by right-clicking on Inflows and Import from CAD, or similarly, under the Import ribbon, under CAD, we can select Inflows. Select the Inflow Areas Developed file, select Open, and we'll see that we have a CAD file reference which already has been delineated for each of the catchment areas. If you don't already have a file for one of your projects, that's okay. It's actually quite easy to delineate catchments in XpDrainage. For this project and for this introduction, we're going to start with an already delineated set of catchments. So we'll see that this layer in the CAD file contains all of the layers, all the outlines. And when we import, we're going to select a template. So this happens to be a commercial inflow template. This contains all of the commercial land use types which we're going to use. So select OK, and we'll see that all of these catchment areas have been imported. We can review the input information which was taken from that template we referenced. We'll see here we have both a preliminary sizing portion of this inflow area as well as the dynamic sizing. Preliminary sizing, of course, being what is used for the rational method to automatically size our pipe network. The dynamic sizing is the full hydrology, which will be used, in this case, the SCS rainfall method. So now that we have our catchment areas, which have been imported, the next thing we can do is to import our pipe network for this site. We have two options here. One would be to import from the land XML file type, or since we've already seen a CAD import, we can also import from GIS. So that's what we'll do now. So under Import, we can select Connections under the GIS group. Start by select, and there's the pipe network file. So by selecting this shape file, we'll see the network which it contained by that shape file. We select Next. And what's quite useful about XpDrainage is it's helpful as you move through your design or layout of a system. So in this case, if there's any missing information in the shape file, it will fill in the gaps, so to speak, with a standard template. So I'm going to say standard pipe, that template group. If there's any missing information, let's say the roughness value for a pipe, it will fill it in with the standard in that template. So we can hit Next. Again, for our junctions, I might say standard manhole to be our standard fill in the blank. Okay. So next we can populate the different variable fields. We can start with perhaps dragging and dropping upstream cover level. That's what this USCL field is. For the sake of this tutorial, I've already mapped these fields. So you can see it's quite logical, but it saves a little bit of time to just load the mappings, which I've already done. So when you hit import, you'll see that there's 20 junctions created and there's 19 connections. We can zoom in and we can see the network which has been imported. There's a couple really unique things which we're going to do with XpDrainage. First, you might notice that with this network, this would be a junction, a manhole. This would be one of the connections. We'll see the software kind of automatically associates an inflow area to a logical junction. So this area happens to be part of the roof area for this building. This portion of the site drains to this inlet point. So the software helps us in this way by associating inflows with probably a pretty logical connection point. So the last part of chapter 1 of the tutorial would be to edit the inflow information. Now we could do that individually by double clicking on one of these outlines or select edit. And we can individually change any of these parameters through a dialog. But if you have more than one catchment, it might be easier to use a tabular interface. So you can double click or right click edit on the tables field. And we'll see here that we have a list of the inflow characteristics. What we're going to do as this part of our tutorial is we're going to change the percentage imperviousness. You'll see here's the kind of master list of these different items. So let's change the percentage imperviousness of these inflow areas. As it's listed in the tutorial, we'll modify these roof areas. You'll see I could change that to 100% impervious. Now using this table, I could also highlight more than one of these cells and use this equals button. So think of tables as Excel within XpDrainage. So I'm following the notes of the tutorial. I'm going to update these fields to give a better representation of the runoff characteristics of each of these individual catchments that make up my site. If we were to go edit one of these items, we'll see that, sure enough, the tabular changes were applied and can be viewed, of course, on the local dialog level. So that concludes Chapter 1 of the introductory tutorial.